People, Deluded, I'm back again. Smash the like button, subscribe, do all of that sort of stuff. Now, Berta's been a busy body, busy Berta as we can call him. In Berta we trust. Let's get Eze through the door. That being said, as you can see with the headline in front of me, Arsenal have spent 187 million. Do they need to sell? What is their PSR position? Apologies. Who could go? Now, to be fair, there's a lot of food for thought, and let me know your thoughts on that. Do we need to sell? What do you think our PSR position is? I'm not expecting you lot to be accountants and all those sort of things. And who could leave? And what do you think of spending? Well, 187 is an interesting number choice. But if you know, you know. Smash the like button if you know. But 187 million. I think we all expected Arsenal, give or take, to spend 187, 200 million kind of region. Now, my opinion, and we're going to read this article in just a moment. Let me know your thoughts. My thing is, we've always been told we're self-sufficient, and addressing the elephant in the room, that's a big proposition as to why certain man bought our football club, and that's obviously proceeded. And we have spent money, we have spent money. Yeah, we're not spending as much as other people, but that's all irrelevant. That is the dynamics at play. That is who we're spending. I'm not criticizing it, but City have obviously, it goes beyond spending, because if spending was everything, Man United be the big bad bully still in it, but Man United previously been spending. City could spend Chelsea are throwing too much money at this thing for it not to bang. Newcastle is a problem for the league. They're going to win the Premier League one day. They're a problem for the league in the future, people. Now, again, we talk about self-financing. Again, I do think last season there was an emphasis on sales. We're in a good position with PSR. We know that we could spend 200 odd million. That's all we was told in January, etc., etc. Any restrictions or any of our ability to bring people into this club, that is because I think that's an internal mandate at our football club. It's not because of external factors like PSR crippling us. We all knew, the Zubamendis, the Gyökereses, or let's just say centre mid striker. Well, Zubamendi, a striker, which is now Gyökeres, and everything else. In an ideal world, that was the bulk of our incomings. We do need to shift people on and look after the wages, and then maybe fuel to the fire of the Rodrygos, the Ezes, the Rafa Leaos, or maybe some players that are not household names like this, but in terms of the same skill set, people. So let me know your thoughts off the bat. Initially, Arsenal have had a productive summer in the transfer market, with their spending approaching 190 million. Mikel Arteta has strengthened his squad through the acquisitions of goalkeeper Kepa Azpilicueta. I tried, people. Noni Madueke, Christian Norgard, and Martin Zubamendi. The club has also added Victor Gyökeres, their marquee summer signing, to the squad, as well as Christian Mosquera. But despite this important and heavy investment, Arsenal is still short of what Chelsea and Liverpool spent. And Liverpool are in a great position before signing Isak, and actually after they're signing Isak. We need to flush players out, but we need to get into a scenario where, like Liverpool and probably City, they're flogging academy players or developmental players and getting loan fees, making profits, etc., etc. I would love us to go into the multi-club structure. I'm sure we also Chelsea have sold a young player to Strasbourg. It's a bit in that regards. I'm not even criticizing it. The game is the game, and we need to revamp our loan system. We need to revamp our scouting network. I do think we need to learn to bridge the gap between the academy talent, because obviously we've got Wanyeri, got Miles Lewis-Skelly, Max Dowman's 15 but coming through, Saka's come through, and all of these things. But what about the players that don't make it? Again, the Iwobies, the Balligans, the Joe Willocks, they're exceptions rather than the rule. We should lose count of how many players we sold. You look at some of these players that have left, and maybe they've gone on and done well elsewhere, but and sometimes you can't control it. But you look at Koza Dewberry, you look at Renell Waters, Lino Sosa, etc., etc. Whether they're good enough or not, these players would have probably been at other clubs and made a 10, a 15 million, a 20 million here and there, and it all adds up. And you could argue, because of how we are operating, despite the riches our owners have, we should want to be doing that kind of stuff elsewhere. Like, you look at Martinelli and Marquinhos, terrible names to mention, but Martinelli was bought for 6 million, more than overpaid his scenario, but his transfer fee. But if you get a man for 6 million and you sell him for 60, exaggerating, you can see where I'm going with this. Marquinhos, it didn't work out, but you got a man for 3 million. Even if that turns into 13 million, you can't go wrong making money in it. And we've got to look after the wages. Like, it's a reality. There's many players, not just this season, but probably next season, of various different categories. Players that are past their sell-by date, players you forgot about were at the club, maybe players that might see their role diminished with the evolution of this team. People need to move on. There's a lot of players on big wages. I do think on one hand, that's an industry norm. You're going to have that, whether they're squad players or not. But at the same time, there's also that, because you could argue, yeah, maybe I'm jumping the gun with Kai Havertz, but Kai Havertz, if people could see he's equally as good as he is. Well, he's a striker in the centre mid. If he's playing to that kind of standard that we want, if Zinchenko maybe is behind Calafiori and Miles Lewis Skelly in the pecking order, but he's obviously a great player and puts pressure on the squad. If Gabriel Jesus was the Gabriel Jesus he probably looks like on YouTube, it's not that you can't care about these wages, but they would, we'd have a stronger squad. A lot of it is because these players are not playing, these guys are injured, these guys are inconsistent, some have stagnated and whatnot. And then you look at someone like Reece Nelson, really, who's still here. So let me know your thoughts, people. Liverpool are the biggest spenders. We know they splashed out on several players. Chelsea have spent just over 200 million and counting, people. Man United have also had their checkbook out, but like Arsenal, remain under 200 million, with Mbeumo and Cunha costing just under a combined 130 million. Based on Man United spending generally, you know what? That's two of the better players. I think Mbeumo's too good to fail. I think he's plug and play. I think he could go to any team and he would be doing what he's doing at Brentford. Obviously, there's a bit of tactical nows and all of those things that Brentford were doing. Cunha, I think it will bang, but on paper, you hope that's the same script from Man United. Arsenal spending may not be over, as another wide player could still be added. So how much leeway do they have for further expenditure? Will it require sales? How mindful of the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules, otherwise known as PSR? Again, we spent 190 million. Zubimendi came in for 65 million euros. Madueke came for an initial 48.5 million plus an additional 3.5 million, depending on how the add-ons are hit. Kepa's come in, Norgard's come in, Gyökeres cost 54.8 million with a potential 8.7 million in add-ons. We signed Mosquera for 13 million quid, people. So that's all we've done. Where does this leave our PSR position? Arsenal's most recent set of published financial accounts for the year ending May 31st, 2024, saw them post a pre-tax loss of 17.7 million, meaning it was their sixth loss-making year in a row, having previously made a profit for 16 consecutive years. Now, if we park off what we want to do as a club, obviously as a business, if you're just looking at the numbers, you don't want to hear that necessarily, which is why there's probably been an emphasis on, paying the players who are doing the jobs the money, but flushing people out. Obviously, Kroenke took KSC, better yet, took full ownership in 2018. Apparently, they've invested heavily in the squad, which has coincided with total losses, reaching 328.7 million in 6 years. To be fair, it's completely off topic, but I was looking at our record signings, people, and Mikel Arteta has signed at least 3-4 of them. So you can't really say that you ain't been backed on one hand. I know backing goes beyond signings, but then he has been backed in it in terms of recruitment, in terms of what he wants to do off the field in the training ground, sporting directors, the list goes on, but that's neither here nor there, people. And I'm not saying that to hit Arteta over there. I'm just being honest. Despite the losses, they enjoyed significant revenue growth owing to regular Champions League football and posted record revenues of over 610 million in 2023-24. Although they have posted losses for the last 6 years, the club is on a relatively solid footing for PSR. The Athletic previously estimated that they could lose up to 97 million in the 2024-25 and remain compliant with the fiscal rules. That doesn't mean we would. That would obviously tell you, what worse comes to worse, you could take a hit, but that doesn't mean we would. Arsenal remain open to the prospect of further strengthening their squad if a suitable deal presents itself, although any additions are likely to be in the attacking department. We've heard this several times, but Real Madrid's Rodrygo, Newcastle United's Anthony Gordon, both left wingers are admired by the club, and we've explored a potential deal for Eze. We're not going to hit his release clause, are we? Arsenal had been heavy spenders for a few years, but came closer to balancing their books last season. In the 3 years from 2021-22 to 23-24, Arsenal's net transfer spend was 563.7 million. Where's that money gone? We should trace it. In contrast, their net transfer spend was just over 20.9 million in 2024-25, as the sales of Smith Rowe, Nketiah, Ramsdale offset the majority of the money spent on Calafiori, Merino, and David Raya. After a relatively follow year, they have greater scope to buy again this summer. So again, we've got greater scope, we've got leeway, we could even take a loss. We do have the ability of ripping up contracts and selling and whatnot. But again, for me, if our mandate is to want to, get some money in, people, which we need to, the two overlap, but we need to separate the two. Smash the like button and let me know your thoughts. They almost certainly set a new club record for revenues from 2024-25, surpassing what they generated in 2023-24 after a successful campaign that saw them reach the Champions League semi-finals. They are not pushing themselves up to the PSR limit. Naturally, just because you have leeway doesn't mean you want to go all the way to it. If you fly too close to the sun, you get burnt. But if they keep signing expensive players, which Leao, Rodrygo, Eze, either or two of them would be, they will need to recoup money through sales. This is where, beyond the obvious, this is a major attraction of Berta coming to the club. And this is another, big up Berta because you're doing well. You've got several spinning plates, but sales now. Through sales, as would be the case of any Premier League side. Arsenal also need to be wary of UEFA's tight squad cost rules. The European governing body sets a limit of the amount of revenues clubs competing in its competition can spend on transfer fees, player wages, and agent fees. From the 2025-26 season, it will be 70%. In 23-24 season, Arsenal's account showed their wage to revenue ratio was 53%. Wages will have increased since then, but so have their revenue space. Pardon me, having also freed up on the wage bill from Partey and Jorginho. Also, people you throw in Kieran Tierney, potentially Zinchenko and Reece Nelson, who also need to depart, and there's a bit of leeway. And actually, it doesn't feel like we have a 25-man squad, but if we were to, we know all the want-away players are not going to be registered. Some players will probably leave in the next few weeks, but we're actually can register 25 players. So again, I wouldn't say the squad's bloated, but where you look at it purely from finances and the wages and all that kind of stuff, probably are people in which we know it's a conundrum, depth, all of that. And could they attract good fees for players? Arsenal's record sale remains Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain to Liverpool for 35 million, which needs to get better. Saliba signed a new deal when the Madrid deal comes. We know what needs to do. So their track record at generating significant fees has not been great recently. I'm not going to, brown nose Chelsea, but we know they're good. And they've made 100 million. Even where you look at João Felix and Madueke, from the initial fee they brought them in to the profit they've made, it tells you everything. Although they may not have to sell this window to comply with PSR, that doesn't mean they don't want to sell. I couldn't have put it any better. The club's owners want Arsenal to be self-sufficient and want to see them make use of player trading to maximize their resources, all with a view to sustainably reinvesting as much as possible back onto the pitch. Now, we have heard that before, and we've also heard Mikel Arteta levied for, more money to spend in the market and got his way. That said, Arsenal do have sellable assets. Fabio Vieira, who is yet to return for pre-season after obviously playing with Porto in the Club World Cup. Apparently, we may be willing to listen to offers for either Martinelli or Trossard if a wider player can be brought in. Of course, Trossard, 1 minute he's staying, then he's going Saudi, then he's going Fenerbahce. He's been linked with Borussia Dortmund. I would say at the start of the window or the start of the summer, Martinelli, whether it's true or not, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, this one, that one, and the third, doesn't seem like it's kind of radio silence. It feels like there's more interest in Trossard. Trossard, in my opinion, with his agents, they're considering, I don't know him, but I think they're considering everything. I think they'd be open to signing a new deal with improved terms, not necessarily in terms of longer, more years on his wages, on his contract, but more wages. Maybe going somewhere else in the Premier League, because that's also something we're hearing. So yeah, it is what it is. Zinchenko's interesting because I do think owing to never quite feeling confident that Calafiori is going to stay fit. We did kind of kill Ben White and Timber, ran them into the ground, and Timber is easing his way back in. I would like another left back, and obviously big up Miles Lewis-Skelly, but Zinni might stay from that perspective, which obviously the money's on is crazy. He's got 12 months on his deal. I don't know if he's got an option. Zinchenko, meanwhile, is also in the shop window, but the 28-year-old has less than 12 months left on his contract, significantly limiting his value. There's a possibility the Ukrainian will leave for nothing next summer. Reece Nelson has been made available for sale, with Fulham in advanced talks with Arsenal to sign the 25-year-old winger. Where's the time gone? Reece Nelson is 25. We're going to blink and Saka's 32. And to be honest, we'll blink and Max Dalman's 21, innit? And it'll be like he's been here forever. And the same goes for Lewis-Skelly, Wanyeri, and the rest of them. Having joined Arsenal's academy aged 9, any transfer fee for Nelson would count as pure profit in the club's PSR calculation. So beyond the obvious of us, the whole loan business for Nelson is done now. Beyond the obvious, because of that, Fulham, come on, man. You got money. Let's just buy the man permanently if you rate him that much in it. I hear it, though. Why wouldn't you want him on loan? Arsenal apparently remain in locked talks over a deal for Eze, but they have told Palace that they will only sign the player on one condition. Apparently, we've agreed personal terms, yet the deal has stalled over waggling over the transfer fee of the player. We all know his 68 million release clause. Apparently, we've informed Palace that we will not meet such fee. So doesn't mean a deal can be done, can't be done. Apologies, but it's probably not what you want to hear, people. I don't know if we're right to take this stance on Eze. He's got 2 years left on his deal, 27 years of age. I won't say we're the only club or this is your big chance, but you're kind of relying on the player maybe doing his part. We've done deals with Palace before for Rob Holding, for Matt Turner, for Eddie and Nketiah. Palace, allow us. I need this, man. I don't care if Eze is going to play as a 10, if Arteta is going to play one of Zubimendi, and then Odegaard and Eze are there. He deputizes for Bukayo Saka. We do the false nine thing, or he just plays off the left, whether he's a left winger or not. Let me know your thoughts, but I don't care. This is significantly upgrades us to have him and Gyökeres. We've got significant attacking options that ease the burden beyond everything on Bukayo Saka. And then I would need Mikel Arteta, because I do think signings is one thing. Clearly, you know, we don't move the ball quick enough, low blocks, we got issues. There's plenty of things for Arteta to eradicate tactically. You know, a tradesman's only as good as the tools he has. But at the same time, if you've got all the state-of-the-art tools, or you've gone to, I don't know, Wix and bought new tools, but you're not using them properly, it's your problem, innit, if they're state-of-the-art, innit? But at the same time, we do need this, man. We need this. We need this. It's as simple as that for me, anyways. I'm tired of the Rodrygo stuff, but apparently we could revisit Rodrygo in light of growing interest from Dortmund in Trossard. So what does that tell you? Whether it's Rodrygo, Eze, or someone that's not as much of a household name, we probably will go for attackers, dependent on what if one or all leaves. Now, apparently, we held talks with Rodrygo's camp earlier this summer to sound out the possibility of a move. He has an uncertain future. You would see that apparently Xabi Alonso and Real Madrid have said that he's not going to play. His agents are fielding offers, but Rodrygo wants to stay. It seems like everybody around him is bracing for what's about to happen, apart from Rodrygo himself, if I'm completely honest, people. Apparently, he's seen his game time diminish, and he's yet to make a final decision on his future. Apparently, this is frustrated Arsenal, and we've moved on to other targets. We've held talks with Eze. I mean, you never know, we could revisit it, but again, the financial outlay that comes with signing Rodrygo and his wages, let alone Rodrygo and Eze, let alone either one, if not both, on top of the players we've got that have signed new deals, the players that have not left are earning new deals, and the players that we've brought in. It's a techie one, if I'm honest with you. But yeah, apparently Trossard is drawing interest from Borussia Dortmund and 2 unnamed Premier League clubs. Who they are, I couldn't tell you, people. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. Silly season. Real Madrid are desperate to sign Max Dowman, really. And they're apparently keen to offer us 2 players in exchange for a transfer fee and William Saliba. Arda Güler's been linked, and so has Asensio, the centre-back. So it really is a silly season. The journalists are trying to milk what's left of the transfer window, and it does feel like, I wouldn't say Arsenal's transfer business is anywhere close to closing in terms of incomings and outgoings, but it feels like we're reaching that kind of point sooner rather than later.